Sometime when the 2020 two geeks from social media formed an alliance to bring you geek news from across the Nostalgiaverse. They are Jacob's Toys and SuperSorrell. Bringing you a weekly live show, toy, TV and movie reviews, special guests, opinions, tangents, and bad impressions, reveals, releases, thoughts, maybe dreams. Now prepare for the Geek Week in Review.
How you doing, Sorrell?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. First of all, welcome to the Geek Week special episode. Secondly, apologies, people, that it looked like the stream kind of set up for 9:30 when it was 10:30. And there's loads of people in the chat from like 9 o'clock chatting away. So I don't know if you're still here, but we got to give shout outs to Stug, to Shelley, to, I'm just scanning it, Tac Tac Toys and Film. It was got Andy Roberts, Joby One. Big shout out to all those people just chatting away in the chat, waiting for us to never come. And we logged on to, to get the stream started and realized that a load of people have been in there. So do apologize, but here we are. We are here at a special episode of Geek Week with me, Jacob's Toys, and of course the wonderful one and only SuperSorrell. I'm not going to do the strip spiel. We'll do that later. I'm going to move my Windex though, because I've been cleaning windows. As you can see with all the glass behind me, I'm cleaning windows. It's nice to see you in the middle of the week, Sorrell.
I know, it's weird, isn't it?
I know. We do talk, just for everyone's information. It's not like we don't talk, like we only converse on a Sunday. Like
we only talk on a Sunday.
Talk most days. Sorrell, don't text me. It's only Thursday. You're a Sunday friend, all right? So what's been going on with you?
No, a lot's been. Well, I tell a lie. About 20 minutes ago, I got very excited because I realized that Props and Replica have got the new Dia de los Muertos Monster High doll in. So I'm like, yes. I didn't think we'd see that in the UK. Last year, it was like a USA exclusive. It was hard to get hold of. The Howler Days ones, as they call them. They're usually really hard to get hold of and sell out so quick on Mattel Creations. And obviously, after what happened with Jack and Sally, they sold out within minutes. I was in the queue and they sold out. So I was really happy that Props and Replicas got these ones in. So I've been able to secure one. So I should have that with me in the next couple of days. Nice.
I got two really big figures this week, and it's only Wednesday. One of them you can kind of see in my cabinet there. It's not out of the box yet. It's
kind of see it, but it's kind of distorted a little bit. What is it?
Infinity War Thanos.
Ooh.
So I made a little mod on my shelf as well. So this is where the shelves usually sit. And it's now sitting down here because this thing is massive.
Wow. Thanos.
So he is huge. But I wanted a Thanos and I thought, why not? So I'm kind of going all in on these Hot Toys now.
You are?
Yeah. Slowly kind of putting the collection together. And then today, Comics and Cocktails came through with the win. And I got this little bad boy delivered.
Ooh,
Doctor Strange. Yeah. And if you have a look at him, he comes with a really cool like display piece. It's it's Doctor Strange when he's doing the spell.
Yeah.
And so it comes with the kind of basin thing and all the effect pieces, and when he's doing the spell and there's all those kind of branches of
there's like pulling things in and
so it comes with all of that. So that's going to make a really cool like display piece in one of the cabinets. So so got a couple of figures to get out and get set up. So
that's cool. I've actually got nothing behind me for once, really, which is weird. Oh, I don't lie. I've got one pop vinyl that I picked up this evening. I got the stitched together Chucky and Tiffany.
Oh wow, cool.
It's like a 2-in-1 like pop thing. That's to celebrate all of the Chucky franchise. Basically, they just made this like random pop. I don't think it ever. They've never appeared like that ever in the films or the TV series, but
no,
it's just a random pop. But it was cool. It's Chucky and Tiffany, so I had to grab it.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, no, I decided something today though. I pulled the trigger on something.
Pre-order.
Well, they're not actually out for pre-order yet, as far as I'm aware. I may be wrong, but I decided to, after seeing lots of toy imagery, that the whole DC Multiverse Batman and Robin series.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to be getting those.
Nice.
I decided there's room in my heart for a little display of the movie versions of Batman. I think
Nice.
I'm not too bothered for this is where people hate me. I'm not too bothered for like the newer like Bale Batman, but George Clooney and obviously if they make a Riddler and a Two-Face, I'd be all for that as well, because they're kind of like childhood nostalgia, aren't they?
Yeah.
So
it's funny, since mixing my collection around, I've started to sort of think of things as well. Like I kind of want to have a Ninja Turtles. I'm debating the NECA Turtle movie Turtles, just because it's a film that I absolutely loved. So I'm just kind of like, you know what? I'm mixing things up.
Why don't you see as you're going for the larger 12-inch scale stuff? Why don't you maybe look at the 12-inch NECA movie Turtles, because they did make them as well. They're a bit harder to get hold of, but they'll be a bit more in keeping with the rest of your stuff.
Oh, right, okay.
Just FYI. They're really cool as well. Exactly the same. They're just larger scale. They're absolutely massive and they're awesome.
Yeah.
I need to have a shuffle around my collection because I've literally run out of room for the Monster High dolls now. Because I got a really rare Hot Mansion doll. Hang on, I have to show you.
You're getting excited. That.
So this came out about 15 years ago in the parks, and they were called Park Pals, and they were made for like a girls' toy line. And they made one for the Haunted Mansion. They made one for like Adventureland, like the Tiki Room. They made one for like Futureland and one for Fantasyland. And this was the Haunted Mansion doll.
Wow.
Like her leggings are like the same design as like the wallpaper and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's very much inspired by like the cast members' outfits and stuff. But when you look at it, this is very much like Descendants, isn't it? This is where they got the idea for Mal, I'm sure, of it from Descendants. Yeah. It looks just like...
That's what I thought it was to start with. So when you say very rare, what kind of money would people be looking at?
Oh, you cannot get one box now for the love of money.
Oh, wow.
They go for like $200-$300 a piece.
Wow.
I was lucky that I got this in a box full of stuff from a Disney collector. I don't think they knew what they had when they had that. Me and Miss SuperSorrell were going through this box and pulling out like random Disney dolls, Barbies, and I think they must have gone to the parks and bought this at the time and not thought anything of it. It were another doll in their collection. And I saw it, I'm like, mine. I looked at Lynn and said, "You can have the rest of the box. I just want this. I'm happy with this now." Best. So, and she's in really good condition. Say we're in some kids' collection.
If you had told me that was fresh out of a box, I would have believed you.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, that looks amazing. Just quickly in the comments, that Stug saying there, are you all seeing the Marvels this week? We will talk about this on the regular show. We will get to it because it is a big week, really. Let's be honest. We've got the Marvels coming out. We've got the season finale of Loki. We've got at the For the Love of Horror convention.
Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters. Oh, do we talk about that now? Because it came out tonight. What do we say there? I don't know. But there's lots going on this week. But this show is a special episode because we want to talk about something that me and Sorrell were kind of throwing back and forth. And we thought, you know what, let's just jump on and talk about it with everyone else as opposed to just between us both. So, HASBRO.
So let's jump on. Let's go back a few hours to when me and Jacob were just at work board chatting. And let's pull up Mr. Stevie's actual post that made me get excited. So here we go. Mr. Steve Evans. Let me share my screen. So I'm there having a little peruse, chatting away with Jacob as we do. And we came across Mr. Stevie. And he had this on his channel today. What brand is your primarily collecting focus? Which I thought was quite interesting.
This as well, just for everybody else. These are screenshots from his story that was, I think, a day or two ago. So he's been doing these polls on his story, which is not unlike Steve. So it's not like a massive kind of spoiler drop or anything like that, because he does like interacting with the fans and finding out what's what. But he shared these also as a post.
Yeah, and it's the fact that he said in his post as well, and he's been saying a lot of his stories that he's been with Hasbro planning the 2025 product lineup, as you can see here. He's saying that they're very busy planning next year. And it's just fun that they start asking these questions, whether it's just Mr. Stevie or Hasbro or what. But he's got a large following, so I can see him doing this for research.
Just while we're on that one, though, what does surprise me is Transformers has come in at the bottom when it's one of their strongest.
This could just be that Mr. Stevie hasn't really focused on those lines during his career there. He's mainly been the Star Wars and then Marvel guy. I don't think he's touched on the other lines too much, has he? So I could see his following predominantly being Star Wars, Marvel.
Well, that's the thing, is that most of his following will be Star Wars and Marvel, but it isn't necessarily reflective of the wider Hasbro fan base, because there is a huge Transformers fan base. I think G.I. Joe's probably about right. I think that's probably the lowest of the three.
Yeah.
But I was surprised that Marvel was nearly half of what Star Wars was.
Definitely. And then we move on, and he starts to look at and break it down a little bit. So this really got me.
Now this is specifically as well.
Low. Yeah.
He's taken the top with like the contender, like the Star Wars came out on top, and then he's asked a direct question to the Star Wars fans. So it's clever in the respect of, okay, this is where the most of the people are engaged. So let's ask a question that's specific to them. But yeah, Black Series really low.
Really, really low, which is weird. Again, I didn't realize until I started looking into it how much Black Series has declined over the years in sales.
Yeah.
Whilst TVC has remained pretty much the same and occasionally grows and then stays the same, grows and stays the same. So once you become a TVC fan, it looks like you never really dip off becoming like dropping the line. It seems to be Black Series has a lot of peaks and troughs in the sales figures.
Yeah.
And I can imagine that's when they drop someone like Cal Kestis, they'll get a bunch and then a drop off. And then they'll drop like Darth, what's he called? Nihilus, and they'll get like a bunch of gamers again. And then.
Yeah. But I think Black Series has had quite a lot of changes, whereas TVC has remained relatively kind of, I can't think of the word, but familiar. You know, they've not mixed it up too much, have they?
Yeah. And then again, we move on, and he starts asking this question: do you collect both Marvel Legends and Black Series, both Marvel Legends and G.I. Joe, both Black Series and Joe, or Black Series and Legends? So it's kind of like mixing it up. What two lines do you collect? It's a bit, it's kind of like, it's an awkward one, because obviously he's led the question there. But yeah, most people are going to be Black Series and Legends again, because that is his primary audience on here.
Yeah.
So I'm taking this one with a pinch of salt. That one didn't really surprise me too much. And I don't think it did you either, did it really?
No, but it makes sense, because, you know, there's going to be a small percentage of people that collect all three. That one's came out as the second highest. And Marvel Legends and Black Series are, like we said, it's a much higher thing than Joe. But what was interesting is that the Marvel collectors also collect Joe a lot more than the Star Wars collectors. But I think that's because they're cross-compatible. So with the Joes, you've got kind of goons, and you've got henchmen, and you've got villains and stuff. Whereas Star Wars and Joe, there's not a lot of kind of situations that you can do the same. So that kind of makes sense, I think.
If you stood Deadpool in the middle of the Joes, it wouldn't look out of place.
No.
Or if you use
Wolverine,
and there's a lot of us in the community that like to do action figure photography. And if you have the Joes with the backs to the camera, they just look like army or mercenary personnel for Deadpool or Wolverine or whoever to fight against. Yeah. So they do look generic enough to be just goons, which is good. That's one of the reasons I got into Joe, which a lot of people I know they hate that.
Same as me.
Joe fans, but I got into Joe literally for that reason, because they are goons for like Predator to fight in the jungle.
Same for me. I picked up a couple originally just because I thought they looked like cool mercenaries or whatever, and then kind of expanded on the line.
Yeah. So again, G.I. Joe in the UK has never been a massive thing. It was always Action Force in the UK, and we had different characters.
But I think Hasbro stumped that as well, because they obviously made it a Pulse exclusive and took it away from a lot of retailers. So there were a lot of people in the community that kind of not boycotted the Joes, but kind of went,
moved away from them.
I'm supporting my small retailer or independent retailer, and you've taken that income stream away from them.
Definitely. And then, in addition to to Legends, my favorite Hasbro line is. And so he starts asking about, do you collect any other Marvel ones? Which obviously Retro led the way. That was a very popular line. I'm surprised it ended so soon.
I'm so surprised that it's because the other funny thing is as well is that it's one of them lines. I don't know if you're in any of the groups, but I'm in a couple. But the groups are still really active, even though the line has ended.
Yeah,
I
very
mean,
much.
Marvel Universe is going back a bit. So I don't know if you could say you collect Marvel Universe as much as you have a collection of Marvel Universe, because it's, you know, they're an older toy, aren't they? Now?
When I was because obviously I do my wholesale buying, for Comic Cons, and I could not keep the Ghost Rider in stock. Literally, as soon as I had them, the guys, the groups, like, have you got any more of them yet? And I'm like, yep. And I was able to grab them from my wholesale and sell them at 22 a piece. And people were just flying off the shelf. So I mean, it was a very popular line, and I think if they'd have continued with things like the Ghost Rider the way they were going, I think they would have got even more popular.
The interesting thing about this particular question, though, is that, do you know what all three of those lines have in common?
They're all defunct.
No, they're all retired lines.
Yeah.
So they're all like a 12-inch line ended ages ago. The Universe line ended ages ago, and obviously the 375 ended not too long ago. So they're basically asking the question: which of these lines would you like to see again? You know, which, if we brought one back, which would you buy? Kind of thing. That was how I read that.
Yeah, definitely. And then asking about the preferred scale, and this was the one that made me get like, oh, okay. I didn't expect that, because most people that I speak to, especially in our communities, are very much 6-inch lead, because that is what most people are collecting. But to see that 375 got 65% of the vote,
that's insane. That is an insane amount. But then I wonder, like, obviously this is reflective of Steve's following.
Yes.
Now, he has a decent following now on Instagram, like where these polls took place. But it's still obviously his following. So is that reflective because the majority of his following are TVC collectors?
Potentially. And as well, he collects a lot of retro, and a lot of retro people still are that whole 375 stay alive kind of thing. They all want to keep that scale going. So I think that could be predominantly because of that, but it was given how a lot of people were getting involved in his posts, around this subject. 375 got a lot higher than I thought it was, especially when he's got quite a lot of Legends followers now on there.
Yeah. I'm surprised that 6-inch had such a. Well, I mean, the 6-inch scale essentially has the remaining votes, doesn't it? Because 3% is nothing. Other has come up as nothing, even though it looks like there's a little slither there. It's just not even a percent. So it is, but it's twice as many 375 followers as it is 6-inch.
And then they just look at the age range, which is, it looks like this is pretty much my demographic on YouTube. That's pretty much what I see every day. But it's everyone, the majority of them are between your late 30s to 40s, 50s followers, which makes sense. And that again, that's how old we all are. We're all getting older.
It's late 20s to late 40s, isn't it? That's kind of where the ball kind of falls.
Oh yeah, do you want to feel really old?
Oh, go on then.
Got an email tonight from Disney saying, do you realize Frozen is celebrating its 10-year anniversary this year?
10.
It's been out 10 freaking years already.
That's mad. You know what though? It kind of makes sense when I think about it.
Well, my daughter's 8. She weren't around when the film came out.
No, but if you go back and watch it, like, the animation does look old, which is really odd, because I watched Toy Story and I don't think it does look old.
No,
still cutting edge. But no, this got us talking about 375, didn't it? And that was kind of that's kind of the point of this, is that we just kind of wanted to spitball ideas, because there's clearly a demand for the 375 line. Just taking it to MCM, which obviously I went to, where Hasbro were most recently present. They had a huge booth. Like, the booth was big and it had everything. Like, there was displays for Power Rangers, there was the big glass cases for Legends and everything like that. But without a doubt, the biggest and most overpowering thing that was there was the Ghost HasLab, which is obviously a 375 vehicle, and that was definitely the centerpiece without being in the center. And yeah, even me, who's not a Star Wars collector and not a 375 collector as such, was kind of like, wow, like this is amazing. And it's huge, like huge. But yeah, so there's obviously a focus on 375 at the moment.
Yeah, and given the lines that like if you follow the trends and the way things have sort of dipped off in the last year with some of their IPs, I could see them. I was saying to you, I could see them doing a massive refresh on certain lines in the new year and giving them a 3-inch line.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got the likes of, because the way I see 375 is the way I think Hasbro could differ with 375 compared to other people is with the world building aspect of it. Hasbro like to give us play sets, big set pieces, the big HasLab projects, and they've started to do the box sets with all the like soldier type things in it.
Mm-hmm.
Now imagine what they could do with something like Indiana Jones, highly articulated in 375. They could give you the Temple of Doom playset with Indy, a bunch of soldiers from World War II, and then the ball rolling down the thing at the end, away from. That would sell in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Just as a display piece.
Well, you've only got to look at the HasLabs again. Talking HasLab, look at some of the most successful HasLabs that that Hasbro has had have all been 375 orientated. Okay, taking the Sentinel away because the Sentinel was the first Marvel one, so it was obviously going to be a big talking point. Galactus struggled until the final couple of days, I think it was, and then obviously got a load of backers, the same as Giant Man, and the card didn't fund. Move over to Black Series. None of the Black Series 6-inch line HasLabs have worked, have they? Oh, they've only done the one, haven't they? Rancor.
Yeah, just the one so far, and then they did a bunch of
that didn't work.
Stuff.
The prop didn't work, as in the Reaver lightsaber, and no one can say that it's because doing role-play items as a HasLab doesn't work, because you only got to look at Ghostbusters, two very, very successful HasLab projects. Whereas you look at things like the Sail Barge, you look at the Razor Crest, you look at the Ghost, I was going to say the Ghost ship, but the Ghost ship, they've all been highly successful. So, when it comes to kind of big vehicles, when it comes to big play sets, the HasLab vehicle works for 375. That's undisputed proof. Like, it works for 375. So yeah, you talk about Indiana Jones there. You could do a big Temple of Doom thing as a HasLab. Do you know what I mean? And the tiers could be bolt-on pieces, or you could have the base pieces that as a on the shelf offering, and then the HasLab is a build-up.
Yeah, well, look at what they did the other year when they released the Star Wars Throne Room. That wasn't even a HasLab. That was like 250 odd quid to buy with a mountain of accessories. That wasn't even a HasLab, and that sold out everywhere.
Yeah. The other thing as well, that a lot of, especially the Marvel line and the Star Wars line as well, is people are talking about accessories. When it comes to the price point for a 6-inch figure, they're becoming less, there's less accessories and less kind of things involved. Whereas with a 375, you could throw in a load of them extra things, because if you're looking at the amount of plastic used, half the figure in half and turn that half into accessories, every single figure is going to come with something.
Imagine if Hasbro were to take the learnings of 6-inch, take the learnings of the Marvel Universe line and the Retro line, and then collaborate it into something new. Imagine one of their first releases could be Marvel's first family, the Fantastic Four. Comes as a box set, all 4 figures included. Then the next piece that they include is the Fantastic R. People would go nuts, and they would buy that. Then they do the same. They release the X-Men. They release the 97. The X-Men 97, and then they release the Quinjet.
Yeah. Again,
somewhere for them all to sit. There's a space for every figure that you bought.
Yeah.
That would sell like hotcakes. And then the thing is, with 375, it doesn't take up as much room, and so you can start doing things like the Daily Bugle as a playset, and all the spider villains can stand at certain points and have places to stand.
Yeah,
these things I think are just untapped money makers that Hasbro just haven't thought of yet.
No, massively. And they're things that they also can't transfer over into their 6-inch line. Like they can't make the Ghost in 6-inch because it'd be too big. They couldn't make all of that kind of stuff. Just quickly, I'm just going to throw it to the comments quickly. Shirley said that 6-inch does take up a lot of room, and that's also a thing as well. That I think with Legends and Black Series in particular, you're seeing a lot of collectors kind of jump off, because they've been collecting for however long, and it's filled up so much room that they need to either downsize to replace or jump off. And essentially, a 375 line, you've got twice the amount of room. But then she has also gone on. Sorry, Shelley, I'm using your comments here, about the 375 being almost as expensive as the 6-inch line. Yes, they are quite pricey. Using Marvel as the example, though, they are still kind of half the price, because the average price at retail in the shops for the Marvel ones was about $11.99, and the 6-inch ones are obviously $24.99. So
the reason for that as well is because the 6-inch figures exist, because they have to be able to say you couldn't release a highly articulated 3-inch figure for $9.99, but then justify a $24.99 release for the 6-inch. It doesn't compute. It should be 10 and 20, and that's what it used to be.
No.
Because half the scale, half the price. But that doesn't work anymore, especially when they're releasing box sets of figures in 6-inch for 60 odd, 70 odd quid a pop. That's when you start seeing the 3-inch line getting out a bit ridiculous money wise. But without that competition and without that in there, if they were to take away some of the 6-inch lines, 3-inch would thrive, and there wouldn't have to be the pricing that's there. It would be a whole new pricing game.
And also all the reuse that they could do, like there's characters in Indiana Jones that they could reuse for characters in Star Wars. Like even just off the top of my head, like Indiana Jones's body to like Andor, like it's the jacket, it's the shirt, it's that kind of. It'd be very easy to kind of cross them over.
But if you look at the IPs that they currently own, like Power Rangers is due another lick of paint, another look at. It's due another re-release, and they've already done the 6-inch. They've given us most of the characters everybody wanted. That's kind of a completed line. We're now going back on ourselves and giving us the Power Rangers all over again.
Well, they're giving us the Mighty Morphin for the 3rd or 4th time now.
Yeah. What if they gave us them again? But again, they could do it in 3-inch with the Zords, with the Zords, and I think that would sell massively.
Yeah.
They could do mixed wave of figures, so you get a red ranger from Mighty Morphin, a blue ranger from SPD, a yellow ranger from. They could do like the 6 rangers in every set, but have each one from a different team to keep you in the game, to keep you collecting. Yeah. And they could slowly do that, and then slowly release the Zords to put with them and stuff. And I think that would sell, because 3-inch the Zords are going to be a little bit smaller, a lot easier to collect and to put together.
Yeah. Can you imagine as well with Power Rangers? You imagine if they utilize the engineers and the sculptors from Transformers, and you got like a, I don't know, like a blue 3 3/4-inch Ranger with a Triceratops that transforms into the leg.
Yeah.
And that way you then have that leg waiting there, so that then when you then get the, testing my knowledge now, the yellow Ranger, the saber-tooth tiger turns into the other leg, and then you've got 2 legs, and you're slowly building this.
Zord up as you go.
That would be incredible. Incredible, like, and affordable as well.
The thing is that most people like is when it comes to the Rangers collectors and with the Rangers fans. I know I'm a big Rangers fan. It's cool when you see those moments on screen where it's red forever, and you see all the Red Rangers that have ever been side by side. It's hard to do that in 6-inch, but it would be a lot easier to complete that lineup in 3-inch. A lot easier.
And also, like you say, the play sets. You could have like Zed's, what's it called? Like Zed's throne room, is it?
Yeah.
You could
the
have
old school little throne room, the little alcove bit. Then you could have the Morphin Grid room with Alpha and Zordon and
you could have all of that stuff.
Angel Grove,
and it would all be affordable. And I think that the key to maintaining collectors moving forward is making it affordable. And I think if somebody can jump into a line now, like if Power Rangers 3 3/4-inch came out tomorrow, for example, somebody who is brand new to collecting could get on board, collect their core team, and build up like a display. And that's where it all starts, isn't it? Everyone starts with a display. They all start with a little shrine to something that you know that's homage to something, and then they go, oh, actually, well, as I've got this, I'm going to also do this, and then and then it just spirals out of control. And that's the majority of people getting into collecting. But yeah, I think that 3 3/4 inch for something like Power Rangers would be a phenomenal move. What about Ghostbusters?
Again, it would be so easy, wouldn't it? You could just literally give them the Ghostbusters team, the Ecto one, the Firehouse, because we used to have that in 6 inch or 5-inch scale.
It's about 4 or 5, wasn't it?
But imagine again a release of that mold just in a smaller 3 3/4 inch style.
Yeah.
And just release them, the figures again, and you would easily do it. And then you could also do. You could have like a special one of the hotel room with slimed version of the characters with Slimer that could attach itself to the actual little cart and stuff.
Yeah.
So and with 3 inch as well, you could even do a proper Stay Puft Marshmallow Man in scale to the Firehouse.
Well, that'd be a perfect HasLab.
Yep.
Like you literally do the Firehouse and the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man as a HasLab. That would come in around the 300 mark, similar to what they've done before, or you have the Firehouse as a standalone buy play set, and then you do Stay Puft as a HasLab, like 150 quid or something.
Yeah, it could be so easily done. Like you could even have like the New York rooftop with Zool at the top with the 2 Terror Dogs.
Yep.
And then they could release different versions of the Ghostbusters in 3 inch, some with slimed versions, Stay Puft Marshmallow versions. All the different variants from the first film, and that's all re-release.
It's doable because we've seen it in Playmobil.
Yeah,
like the Playmobil figures are pretty much 3 3/4 inch high, aren't they?
Oh, when they came out, I bought all of them. I owned literally the entire first wave.
So did I. I literally, it was coming up to Christmas, and I was like, "That's what my son's getting for Christmas." Every Ghostbuster Playmobil figure, because secretly I want to play with them. So we had it all. We've still got it. We still pull it out and play with it. The Firehouse is battered, and a million kids have played with it, but it still holds its weight. And it's really nice to see because it's kind of reminiscent of the Firehouse I had as a kid.
Yeah,
because it just bits disappear, bits fall off. You're missing a piece here and there because it's just played with. And I think at its core, that's what Hasbro is, isn't it? It's a toy company that wants people to play. It wants kids and families and mums and dads and sons and daughters and all the rest of it to play. And 3 3/4 inch allows for the action figure collector, but also for the playability of the figures. And I think like Ghostbusters, prime example, like a Firehouse would be phenomenal. Yeah,
and again, this is all transferable to all their other lines. I mean, they imagine what they could do with world building for things like Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh.
The amount of stuff they could do with it. And again, G.I. Joe, I know they kind of messed around with 3 3/4, but they went all out and started doing the they call them O-ring figures, the original ones with the little bands that held them together and stuff. If they went back on all that, like the proper nostalgia trip, and started doing big vehicles, big play sets, like a HasLab of the SS flag for the 3 3/4 inch.
Yeah.
People would be all over that.
Isn't that what the G.I. Joe HasLab was, wasn't it? It was a O-ring figure HasLab.
I believe. I'm not sure. I'm not massively up on the G.I. Joe stuff.
I'm sure it was. I'm sure that their kind of successful HasLab was a smaller scale figure. It wasn't a 6-inch figure anyway. But yeah, I just think, so what? That's Indiana Jones, Dungeons and Dragons, Star Wars, Ghostbusters, like Marvel. Like everyone's been crying out for this Marvel 3 3/4 inch line to continue because there's so many characters they didn't get to, and I've got them all. I've got every single one, and they're in a cabinet up there, and it takes up such a small amount of space. But it's really cool to like have them all together and just sort of have this collection. I was a little bit relieved when they retired the line. I'm not going to lie, because I was like, oh, finally I can breathe. Like, I don't want to miss one that becomes like ultra rare or something. But there is definitely a next chapter to that line. There's no two ways about it.
100%.
Yeah,
100%. You've only got to look at like what other companies are doing right now, like Fisher Price. Obviously, the little people They are literally pumping those things out for adult collectors. But it is a children's toy line, a preschool toy line that they're now selling to grown-ass men like me because they've released things like the Stranger Things Eddie Munson box set, and I'm all over that. I'm all over that.
One. Yeah.
So 375, as Pixels and Plastics just said there in the chat, it is the toy line of the 80s. It's what we all grew up on. It's what we all know. And that they would tap back into that nostalgia factor by giving us some highly articulated toy lines.
Well, that's the thing as well, and I think that's what's the key part of the screens that you shared a minute ago, is that you look at the demographic of the age range, and they are all kids of the 90s and 80s and 90s. So 3 3/4 inch is that kind of figure. And I think if we're really speculating here, on the Marvel side, they finished the 3 3/4 inch and they went into the 4 inch.
Yeah.
To kind of test the waters with that one. And they made it more kind of kid orientated. And I don't think it's done anywhere near as good as the 3 3/4 inch because you don't see as many people talking about them. I mean, they're a cool line, but people don't seem to be talking about them as much.
The thing is with Marvel 3 3/4 inch, the original Universe line, I think that kind of died along with Toys R Us in the UK because so many of those figures went on discount heavily, which probably didn't help the sales in the UK at all with that line.
No.
I remember when you could walk into. I remember when Toys R Us was closing, and I was literally stocking up on 3 3/4 inch Marvel because they were like £2 and £3 a pop, and I was just stocking up on the different figures.
Yeah. I bought a bunch of Marvel Legends, like 6 inches, in those sales as well. I just remember there being so many of the Phoenix and Cyclops 2-packs, like literally just so many of them, and now they're like blood diamonds, like they are ridiculous. But I interesting you say about sales there, because the other thing to look at is that there's a huge kind of thing going on at the moment with sales and the 6 inch lines going into sale. So
very quickly.
Yeah, really quickly. So essentially when something goes into sale, it's because the retailers have overbought on stock and they need to shift it because it's not selling. So from Hasbro's perspective, they're going to be selling all this stock that's then being discounted. So, is that 6 inch line in jeopardy? And do they need to do something else to pull it back? Because I think if they got new fans in with the 3 3/4 inch line, I think they would move over to the 6 inch. And again, sort of in the Star Wars and Black Series vein, it would kind of take it back to the kind of 2015 era where they were few and far between. So you would get 1 or 2 waves a year, and they became a little bit more unique. Whereas now I think we're just spoiled. A wave comes out and everyone just trashes all over it. Whereas 2015, 2016, a wave would come out and everyone would love it. Like they would go on, oh, this is brilliant, that's brilliant. Yes, people would review them, they would be honest about them, they'd critique them, but as a whole, the community was kind of like, this is great, here's the new wave of figures.
I personally think Legends is strong enough that it would continue on its own untouched 6 inch boom.
Yeah.
I could honestly, though, the way Star Wars is going and the way the merch lines are dropping off like hotcakes at the minute, I could honestly see them scrapping the Black Series lineup very soon and predominantly then refocusing on a 3 3/4 inch line because that is where most Star Wars fans come from. Marvel didn't really have a predominant line before Legends, but TVC has been around for so long, and Hasbro and the original Kenner were always 3 3/4 inch, and that's where Star Wars roots is from. So if anything, I could see them sort of saying to the fans, 6 inch doesn't really work for Star Wars. We're going to go all in on retro. And I think people, the collective fan base would be on board with that 90%.
Yeah. Essentially what Pixels and Plastics saying there. TVC being hot right now, world building, and Marvel Universe essentially.
Like we were saying before, there's nothing worse than when you've got a Vader on a shelf with 1 Stormtrooper. It just looks stupid. But if you can get a Vader being flanked by an entire battalion of Stormtroopers, it just looks so much more epic.
Yeah.
So with 3 3/4 inch, it gives you that ability to have those Tantive 4 style playsets and have a load of good versus evil with Darth Vader, Force gripping his way through it, just like from Rogue One. And you can recreate those scenes so much easier in 3 3/4 inch plastic.
But also as well, like you talk about reuse, they could literally put a stormtrooper or a clone trooper in with every wave, like just re-release it, because like saturate the market so people can't sell them on the second-hand market, like secondary market at a higher price. Every wave has a clone trooper or a stormtrooper. Just a standard white, not a fancy one, not a particular character, but just a standard troop builder figure.
Some of my favorite things from the last few years, in all honesty, and the one thing out of my entire Star Wars collection that I saved was 3 3/4 inch. I've still got both boxes of them in the garage. I've not sold them off yet. All my Black Series I've more or less sold off now. They're more or less all gone. But my 3 3/4 inch I kept, because there's nothing more I love than I've got the Tantive 4 playset. I love messing around with that. And I've got the was it Jaro? Do they call it Navarro, the Navarro Cantina. I've got that one.
Yep.
And the only thing that I regret selling, but I sold it to a good friend, Richard, was my Ewok Village. That is the only thing that I regret selling off.
Was it the actual Ewok one or the Robin Hood one?
Mine was the actual Ewok one. I had the Ewok one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, really? I had the Ewok one. And I sold off to a good friend called Rich, but he's looking after it. He's got a good home for it. But yeah,
he's looking after it. He needs to give it back.
He's playing with it for now. It's going to disappear again. Yeah, if Hasbro if they were to start releasing playsets like that again, I'd get on board. I could see myself jumping into that line very quickly.
Yeah.
But they seem to have dropped off with the playsets, which I think is a massive mistake.
But playsets as well, like they're so cross-compatible. So if you've got a 3 3/4 inch GI Joe line, and you've got an Ewok Village, you've only got to look at that Robin Hood Ewok Village crossover where they just reused it. There's so much potential. I think you're right. I think that we are looking at the end of the Black Series.
100%.
I think the Black Series is definitely coming to an end, and I don't think they'll make a big deal out of it.
No.
I think they will slowly just offer more TVC, and like up the offering so that there's Black Series, we've only got one wave coming out this year because we've got this and this from TVC, and it will get to the stage where people then kind of forget about expecting Black Series stuff.
One thing as well that I think my other big, it's a massive prediction. Marvel, I think they will drop the MCU line from the Legends series, and Legends will become a comic book focused line.
Wow, that's a big one.
Because the MCU has they've released every figure more or less from the MCU in 6-inch plastic.
Yeah.
What can they do now? Yeah, they can keep releasing figures of Loki and Scarlet Witch as we go through the MCU in its next phase. What if they rejuvenated that entire line of MCU by doing it in 3 3/4 inch, highly articulated Marvel Universe, and call it the Cinematic Universe line, and literally re-release all those figures in 3 3/4 inch plastic? You're telling me you wouldn't jump on that line instantly?
Take the Marvel Universe kind of vehicle that they had before,
just call it the Cinematic Universe,
and turn it into the new MCU. Yeah, it's a way of doing it. Because in all fairness, even with Hot Toys, like, I'm picking up Hot Toys now, and I'm picking up the same figures I've got in 6-inch. Like they're not characters that. There are new ones I'm getting, of course, but there's also like the Thanos was behind me. Like I have 4 of him in Marvel Legends, like the various different stages. But give me a big, massive one, and I was like, yeah, cool.
But if they released the Statue of Liberty in the 4 sections, like from the end of straight Far From Home, or Far From Home,
No Way Home.
No Way Home. If they released that section of a playset with the 3 Spider-Men, with all the villains, oh come on, everyone would be all over that in seconds.
Yeah. And they've just got to make it.
And just give the little playsets of Doctor Doom, just like the little playsets, just like Star Wars do. But then give us the Sanctum Sanctorum, the Iron Man, Iron Hall of Armor.
Yeah.
Things like that in 3 3/4 inch is world building, and I think would lend to Marvel so well, especially the cinematic universe, because that's where it would be well used.
Yeah, we could literally just take like every kind of big scene in the films over the last 15 years, whatever, That's a really interesting idea. I think it'd be really cool. I really do. I think the only kind of part of the collecting community that wouldn't necessarily get on board is the action figure photographers, because obviously articulation's key. There are some awesome pictures being taken with 3 3/4 inch figures. Don't get me wrong, but to articulate a Spider-Man figure, for example, some people get them into absolutely crazy poses, whereas with a 3 3/4 inch, you're very limited to what you have. But that's part of the charm. It's a Lego figure always looks like a Lego figure. It doesn't matter how good a photo you take of it. And a 3 3/4 inch figure will always be a 3 3/4 inch figure. Whereas at least with the 6-inch figures, there's that ability to kind of blend the lines of realism and stuff.
But the beauty of what I'm thinking of is if they did it and did it right with the right price scale, they would get collectors in that are younger, and they'd be able to sell them to a child audience as well as an adult audience.
Yeah, actually,
like your lads would see the Hall of Armors and want to stick as many Iron Men in that thing as humanly possible.
Yeah. Look at this. Look at this. It's almost like I came prepared. I didn't. This is just absolute fluke, but you just made me think of something. So this is your 3 3/4 inch retro Kennerline figure. Mr. Fantastic. This is your Marvel Universe Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Now, the actual height difference, there's not a lot in it. The actual size difference. Right? So they're not a huge amount height difference, but the articulation difference is huge. Absolutely huge. Like there's one joint in the elbow, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 points of articulation in the arm, knees, double jointed elbows, ab crunch, hip swivel, like all that kind of stuff, whereas this obviously is 5 POA. So this style figure in the MCU would be amazing. And I also think it would buy into a lot of newer fans as well, as in kids.
Yeah.
So I'll take my son, for example. My son's, not very old, but he's, double digits. And when I've taken him out to cons and stuff like that, he's been able to pick up one figure, and he'll pick a figure from a movie that he's seen, or, because he's not necessarily read the comic book. So it'll be more a case of, okay, well, I'm going to get, what was the last one he picked up? Like, I don't know, Spider-Man from, No Way Home. Whereas if it was this, he could go out and he could go, well, I'm going to get Spider-Man, Sandman, I'll get Andrew Garfield, and I'll also get Doctor Strange. And that's my money spent. And then he's got the ability to play, or display. But yeah, I'm on board. Marvel Universe, MCU. That is an awesome prediction, Sorrel. That would be incredible. But then let's throw it the other way. What if they kept TVC and did the same with Black Series? What if they took Marvel Legends and MCU Marvel Legends and Black Series and turned them into these ones?
Well, Black Series TVC already are like those. They are the highly articulated 3 3/4 inch line.
Yeah.
That is what TVC already is, and that's why people love them. Because basically Marvel Universe and TVC ran side by side. Marvel Universe ended, TVC just continued, just under new names. They had Black Series, didn't they? Then it was TVC. They had they were called Black Series for a short while, and then
I remember that.
Because I had loads of them from Entertainer years ago. But the 3 3/4 inch for Star Wars, that's still going. That's going strong.
Okay. So TVC obviously works. I'm just going off on a tangent now, not actually thinking about what's really there. But TVC works, so that would work for the MCU. This would also give them the ability to do like Ghostbusters, for example.
Yep.
Look at Ghostbusters and Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones is a great line, but it's very limited. It's limited to 5 films if you include Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, which Hasbro seemed to not include. But my biggest gripe with it was that, yes, I want to collect them, but I'm only going to collect specific Indiana Jones figures because I don't want to spend £25 on a guy in a suit, like a villain.
But if they started releasing things like the planes, the pontoon planes with Indy in them that could physically sit Indy in them and play. Or they started releasing the Nazi, not they have to call it something else, but like the World War II German sort of, big trucks, tanks, things like that for Indy to fight against. That is where your world building comes in, where Hasbro shines.
So the 3 3/4 inch line needs to be this, not this.
Mm-hmm.
And then
because they could basically take everything they've done over the past 10 years that has worked and just scale it down and do it again. And it would sell, and people would all buy it.
Going back to your Power Rangers, though, like Power Rangers this size.
Yep. Perfect.
It'd be amazing. And there is no...
You could get the Zord, but then you could also distinguish the difference, right? Because you could release Goldar in 3 3/4 inch with the same height as the Rangers. But then release Ultimate Goldar, the same scale that your Zord will eventually be, so that you could have that big Goldar versus the big, big thing. So you've got your Zords have got something to fight, because that was the one thing I always missed about Power Rangers. They focused on the villains, but the villains were always the same size as the figures. They never made a villain big enough to take on the actual Zord. So why do I have a Zord with nothing to fight?
Okay, so I'm just grabbing figures that are around me, right? So we're going to shift over. Diamond Select Carnage, right? 7 inches, retail price at about £30. That's your Power Rangers right there. Like, okay, that's not as big as building, like smashing buildings down and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But if you release the villain, if you release the villain that size and the villain that size, like that works. Like it.
Yep.
Mate.
And they could release the villains in box sets with different versions of the putty. So if they released the pumpkin, the wrapping pumpkin, say, for a Halloween special, they could give us 3 or 4 putties in the box set with him, with the pumpkin heads already on them.
Yeah.
And then they can release Ivan Ooze and give us the Tengu Warriors in the set. So every villain gets his own, because every villain usually has their own version of the putties or the monsters. And literally, so they could make the release of the new villains, like they could make it very much like a new adversary approaches, and make it a whole thing about the release of this box set that's got these 5 figures in it. But it would be about the same price as what a box of 3 would be now. It's 6 inch.
Yeah.
It's world building.
Yeah. But I just think that they need to revisit this universe line.
Oh yeah.
Across brand.
Definitely. You like it that I've said it now, don't you? The idea of it being a cinematic universe line this time.
I hadn't thought about it like that. I just thought about the Marvel Universe line and just thought, they've done that and it was good, but people opted for the slightly bigger ones. Whereas re-releasing everything that we've had, but at this scale, would kind of work. But like I said, it would have to be this, not this.
Yeah,
I love these.
Highly articulated.
Yeah, I really love these. These are a cool little thing, but I wouldn't have picked them up initially if it wasn't for Steve sending me those couple after that episode of Geek Week. I wouldn't have picked these up. But then after having it in hand, I was kind of like, no, this is very nostalgic. I want to get them all. But this is a different kettle of fish. And yeah, like what you said, like having the Statue of Liberty head, and then the 3 Spider-Man figures, and then all the villains, and you could scale the villains as well, because the biggest problem I think with Legends, if we're kind of jumping across sort of to the different brands and stuff, but the biggest problem with Legends, in particular Spider-Man, is his villains aren't all the same size.
No.
And you read the comic books, you watch the animated show, you watch the movies. Sandman is a prime example, but Sandman predominantly is shown as this big, gigantic character. Very rarely is it Sandman and Spider-Man head to head. It's usually this great big thing. And in Marvel Legends, you can't do that. Okay, they gave us a builder figure. They gave us a slightly... he wasn't even that much bigger. But, you give us your hands and everything like that. But it still doesn't give you the gravitas of the Sentinel HasLab, for example, in the X-Men figures.
Yeah.
Marvel Universe. Marvel Cinematic Universe. Oh, mate. I'm excited about that now. That's a really good idea. That is a really good idea. Yeah. I don't know.
Well, yeah, because the half you got to think it's 6-inch plastic. It's half the plastic to make a 3 3/4 inch figure, which means more room for accessories, more room for extra bits. It's like you say, a Sandman could literally come with massive versions of his hands and big like scaled things for him to stand on, and they could make him an adversary that's worth doing.
And with Power Rangers as well, jumping from franchise to franchise here, they could just re-release the 6-inch versions of the villains that they've done already with a bit of a paint.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, Hasbro do that anyway. They will take a figure and they will repaint it and they'll re-release it later down the line. But they could take all of the villains that they've done, put them in these kind of 3 3/4 inch branded boxes, and then you've got the giant sized versions of villains as well.
Yep.
Mate. Yeah.
But like, imagine if they released the Power Rangers, and do you remember that everyone loves the episode where they had the Green Ranger and Goldar trapped in a room, and his candle was running out and all that stuff. They could release that entire room, that little like green walled room with the black candle, with Goldar and Green Ranger as a box set.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, like Angel Grove and the
cafeteria.
Yeah.
I got to give Ryan's in the chat. Right, Ryan, just to be clear, right, we're not just saying this because you're not here. We're saying this based off of a bit of speculation of stuff that's been on the internet, and you know, maybe it's coming true. But it's good to see you, Ryan. Hope you're doing well, mate. I don't know why I'm saying that like I don't speak to you, but yeah, thanks, Ryan. But yeah, it is what you've been saying for a long time. But we're not saying this. We're not saying 5 POA. We're not saying that. We're saying bring back Marvel Universe and put it across brands.
Where's my guy gone? Yeah, I've got this black fur. This. Right, let me show you. It's like I've been doing it recently as well. So like we're saying it's not this because this is plasticky 5 POA rubbish. Right? We want this. We want this. We want highly articulated evil monsters. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's
same thing. Hayatoy's been doing the same thing. Hayatoy's been doing the same thing. So like you've got your Universal monsters here by Super 7, which are 5 POA style, but then you see these bad boys start appearing by Hayatoys for a slight bit more. Because like these are already 20 quid each, which is nuts. Which this is only 25 in my local comic book store. So like, that's a lot better.
Yeah. I think the last kind of 3 3/4 inch figures that I went all in on was the Walking Dead figures.
Yeah.
Remember those?
Did you do what I did there? Did you jump on them when they were all in B&M?
Yeah, no, but I had I had a handful of the comic book ones and the grayscale ones, and then they started showing up in B&M, and I was like, I'm going all in on this line now. But the biggest problem is you couldn't get the many zombies. Zombies are really hard to come by. But yeah, that was a weird line. But yeah, oh no, it's really got me thinking now. But I think you're right. I think we're going to see the end of Black Series. We're thinking 24 or we're thinking 25?
I'm thinking 2024. The line's already getting a lot of hate now as it is. Every time they release something, everyone's going, oh, not again. Or everyone's going, oh, I didn't want that one. Or there's enough animosity in the community that if they were to make a massive announcement in the new year and just go, we're scaling back on the Black Series, we're going to finish off what we've put in pipeline, but then we're going to focus on TVC, where Star Wars all began.
Yeah. So I just thought about something as well that B-Mac said when I did the interview at MCM, because G.I. Joe and Transformers are having a crossover, aren't they? There's like the crossover in the movies, crossover in the comic books and stuff. And I said to him, I went, do you think that G.I. Joe would cross over better with Transformers, or would Transformers cross over better with G.I. Joe? And he was kind of, I'm not actually too sure. But he did say that they had a prototype Optimus Prime in the office that was knocking around that was compatible with 6-inch G.I. Joes.
Ooh.
Which is really cool. And I was like, wow, that must be incredible. But when you think about the size of that and the Autobots and all the rest of it, whereas if we went the other way and you got the O-ring figures, they're already compatible with the size of the majority of the Transformers, you know, that you could size them up easily, and you can they would be a lot easier to cross over. So kind of if they did the movie style G.I. Joe figures based on the new stuff in the Marvel Universe scale or TVC scale, it would be easier for them to cross over with the G.I. Joe if we're talking movie properties specifically.
100%.
Oh,
100%.
exciting. So we think, okay. And, you know, just to kind of round it off as well, what you're saying about the other lines, Ghostbusters, Indiana Jones, Power Rangers, they are all getting close to the point where they need something new. Otherwise, they're going to go around in a circle. And that's
Power Rangers already has gone around in a circle twice now.
Oh, yeah.
There's only so many Rangers you can release. There's only so much you can do with it, which is what Bandai have been doing for years, is just keep that old method of new team, new figures, new team, new figures. But for the high-end collector market, it's harder to keep it running, keep the fan engaged. Usually they just have to recycle it, just like when they do on the TV series. That was the whole point of Power Rangers. They knew that every year every time there's a new series, there's a new line of toys. And that's what they've been doing for years. It's the tried and tested method. But if to get people like us back involved with a franchise like that, I think, repackage it in a 3 3/4 inch line, highly articulated, plenty of play sets, accessories, and Zords and things, all scaled. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
But Ghostbusters again. They've already done 2 lines worth of Ghostbusters. We've got the new movie coming out. Now's the perfect time to release a 3 3/4 inch line on that one.
Yeah. It'd be interesting. It's definitely interesting to see, and it's seeing those questions being asked and seeing the answers being given could indicate the direction it's going.
Yeah.
And as long as it's articulated and it's not 5 POA.
Oh yeah, everything I'm imagining is not 5 POA. Everything I'm imagining is highly articulated 3 3/4 inch figures. That's what I'm picturing. World building stuff.
Yeah. And they would dominate the market. If they made a massive shift into that scale, they would dominate the market because there isn't anyone else doing these properties in that scale.
I'm not sure if you remember that setup I had in my room for a long time with that Navarro playset when I got somebody to make me some walls and stuff. Yeah. I had like a full-on Cantina setup on my shelf for the longest time. And it was because I had the ability to world build it. So I had my own SuperSorrell's Cantina going on. I had certain characters behind the bar. I had characters, and I kept making a stupid thing on my channel of putting different people in it every time I made a new video, and that was fun. Even as an adult, I'm just moving these characters around, changing the story up slightly every time. That amused even me. So, I mean, like, if they start doing a lot more of the world building parts of it, because I think that is the key. It's all right just releasing a bunch of figures. That's okay. But if you start releasing the things that make it a world building experience, that's when you win. Yeah. Because imagine if you release, say, the Hall of Armor for Iron Man, and you release it with the Iron Man Mark 1, right? And that and that playset comes with Iron Man Mark 1, a civilian Tony Stark, and the playset. You can put your first armor in slot 1, but then there's like 17 other slots. I'm looking forward to now collecting all those Iron Men to fill them all in one by one.
You know what? You must have read my mind, because I was literally thinking of the Hall of Armor when you started talking about it. Because for the longest time, I had a massive 6-inch Iron Man collection, and I built a Hall of Armor. Do you remember? I made a big one, but it was too big, and the more suits that they were releasing, I couldn't keep up with it. Like, in all fairness, if you were to build a Hall of Armor to scale for all of the suits that they've released, it would just be too big. But if they released it in the kind of TVC line, like, even if they did, every single Iron Man that they released came with that kind of cabinet. Came with a cabinet. So
that's the slot them all together one by one as you build up your own armor set. Yeah, that again would be perfect.
So literally, you add an extra $5 to the price of an Iron Man figure because it comes with a cabinet. And I can't think of the technical terms. I'm going to use cabinet. I was going to say wardrobe, but it's not a wardrobe, is it? It's a cabinet. But if it comes with that, and like you say, the first piece is the Mark 1 or Tony Stark, and it comes with the little kind of disc piece with the computers and everything like that, and then it's got that center piece that you then build out from. And You can mix it around, you can move it up and down, all that kind of stuff. You'll have people that will be able to trade the cabinets and stuff because they're all cross compatible. Yeah, that would
Do you
be
know what?
awesome.
In 3/3/4 inch, because you're using less plastic, what you usually see is, especially with TVC, they start to add electronics. That's when it starts getting fun. When you start seeing them release things like the Millennium Falcon and things like that, it makes noise and it talks. Imagine the Hall of Armors, and you've got the little button that you press, and it's Tony Stark's voice going, "Come on, drivers, wake up! Daddy's home."
Yeah. Or literally, they've all got a light in them.
Yeah,
they've got a light in them, and as you connect them to the base part, it creates a circuit, so you can hit a switch and they all light up.
Yeah,
really good. Oh, that would be a take my money. If they did that, it would just be like, there you go. I want a Hall of Armor set up.
But I think the possibilities for that kind of a line is endless. With all the properties they own, with all the 10 years of Marvel that we've had, the amount of things that they could build with electronics, with lights, with noises, with voices, it's all there waiting for them.
Yeah.
It's not like anyone would have to re-record anything. It's all there from the film. They nick the little sound bites. And it's a lineup that's just waiting to happen.
That'd be insanely good.
Yeah.
That really would. That really would. But cool. I think we call it quits. I think we've expanded.
Pipe bombed and that's it.
What?
Pipe bombed and gone.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in and joining us on this little Geek Week special. Little cameo from Ryan there, our old mate Ryan. I do feel bad because he did used to sell the 3 3/4 inch to us, and we were like, we're not interested. But it's not that we're interested. It's just we're interested in what's being talked about. That's where it is. That's where our kind of spark of conversation has come from. But yeah, everyone that's come in, thanks very much for tuning in. We do appreciate you. Do join us on Sunday for the regular show. It's going to be episode 125.
125, yeah, 125.
Wow,
Stay alive.
125. So yeah, 125. Got lots to talk about. We will talk about the Marvels. We will talk about Loki. We will talk about HorrorCon.
We'll talk about HorrorCon. We will talk about the Santa Clauses Series 2. We will talk about...
Yeah.
Is it really sad that I woke up this morning and I saw it and went, yes, put it on.
Yeah. Doesn't Wednesday Series 2 drop soon as well?
I don't know. I hope so. That'd be amazing. I know the Crown drops next week. I know that much.
I'm sure I heard somewhere that Wednesday was coming out. Maybe I just imagined that. Maybe that was a... I've read all these different things about what's coming out over Christmas. Maybe I have imagined that.
The production for season 2 hasn't even started yet.
Okay, there we go.
Because of the strikes, it's not happened yet because of the strikes.
There is something coming out. It's not Wednesday. It's something else. Either way, we will talk about everything from the week on Sunday in the regular slot. Cool. Anything you want to add? Any?
See you Sunday.
Just see ya. Thanks very much for tuning in. Go follow us on socials. Give a geek.